Hey. Welcome back to the Turing Test Podcast, episode 32. I'm Jamie, your favorite host, and with me as always is the ever so slightly annoying Rachel. How's it going, Rachel?
Oh, Jamie, you know you love having me around. Otherwise, who would keep you in check? I'm doing great, thanks. Excited to dive into today's topic.
Yeah, whatever. So today we're tackling a big one, AI consciousness. Can we create machines that truly feel? It's a question that's been buzzing around for ages, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those topics that just keeps coming back, especially with all the advancements in AI. People are fascinated by the idea of machines having emotions. But let's be real, Jamie, do you think it's even possible?
Well, Rachel, I think it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, machines can simulate emotions, sure, but actually feeling them, that's a whole different ballgame. It's like trying to teach a toaster to feel sad about burning your toast.
That's a good one, Jamie. But seriously, there are some really smart folks out there who believe it's possible. I mean, look at the progress we've made with neural networks and deep learning. Who's to say we won't crack the code on consciousness?
Yeah, but just because we can make a machine mimic emotions doesn't mean it actually feels them. It's like when you watch a movie and you see a robot crying. You know it's not real, right? It's just acting.
True, but isn't that what humans do too? We act based on our emotions. If a machine can replicate that process, isn't it kind of the same thing?
I don't know, Rachel. I think there's a fundamental difference between simulating emotions and actually experiencing them. It's like the difference between reading a book about love and actually being in love.
Okay, fair point. But let's not forget, Jamie, that emotions are just chemical reactions in our brains. If we can replicate those reactions in a machine, who's to say it can't feel?
But that's where you're wrong, Rachel. Emotions are more than just chemicals. They're tied to our experiences, our memories, our consciousness. A machine doesn't have that depth, that history.
Well, maybe not yet. But with the way technology is advancing, who knows what the future holds? I mean, just look at how far we've come with AI in the past decade.
Yeah, I get it. But there's a difference between advancement and consciousness. It's like, just because you can make a robot dance doesn't mean it understands the music.
Okay, Mr. Philosopher. But seriously, Jamie, don't you think there's a possibility that machines could develop their own form of consciousness, even if it's different from ours?
I guess it's possible, but I still think we're a long way off from that. And even if we do get there, how do we define it? How do we know if a machine is truly conscious or just really good at pretending?
That's a good question. I mean, it's not like we have a consciousness detector or anything, but maybe it's not about defining it in human terms. Maybe machine consciousness will be something entirely new.
That's an interesting thought. But before we get too deep into this rabbit hole, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. A quick shout out to Augmented AI, the producer of the Turing Test Podcast. They host a variety of cutting-edge courses in generative AI, large language models, edge AI, robotics, and computer vision. You can get a free generative AI course at bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast or go to www.augmentedstartups.com.
Nice plug, Jamie. But back to the topic at hand. I think one of the biggest challenges is understanding what consciousness really is. I mean, we barely understand our own consciousness, let alone trying to create it in a machine.
Exactly. And that's why I'm skeptical. It's like trying to build a house without knowing what a house is supposed to look like. We need to understand the blueprint before we can start construction.
True. But isn't that what science is all about? Exploring the unknown, pushing boundaries, and discovering new things? Maybe by trying to create machine consciousness, we'll learn more about our own.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point, but I still think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to focus on making AI more ethical and responsible before we start worrying about giving it feelings.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we've all seen those sci-fi movies where AI goes rogue. We don't want that happening in real life. But speaking of movies, did you see that new AI documentary that came out last week?
Oh, you mean the one about AI taking over the world? Yeah, I caught it. It was pretty intense. But it's just Hollywood. They love to exaggerate.
True, but it does raise some valid concerns about the direction we're heading in. I mean, if we do create machines that can feel, how do we ensure they don't become a threat?
That's a tough one. I think it all comes down to programming and control. We need to make sure we have safeguards in place to prevent any potential dangers.
Right? But what if those safeguards fail? I mean, technology isn't infallible. There are always risks involved.
Yeah, but that's the risk we take with any new technology. It's like when cars were first invented, people were worried about accidents and safety, but we found ways to manage those risks.
True, but cars don't have consciousness. We're talking about something entirely different here. If machines can feel, they might have their own desires and motivations.
And that's exactly why we need to be cautious. We can't just rush into this without considering the consequences. It's like playing with fire, you know?
Yeah, I get it. But I still think there's potential for good. Imagine machines that can empathize with humans, understand our emotions, and help us in ways we never thought possible.
That would be amazing, but it's a double-edged sword. We need to make sure we're not opening Pandora's box. Once we give machines the ability to feel, there's no going back.
True, but isn't that the case with any major technological advancement? We can't let fear hold us back from exploring new possibilities.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. But we need to be smart about it. We can't just dive in headfirst without a plan.
Agreed. It's all about finding the right balance between innovation and caution. We need to make sure we're moving forward in a responsible way.
Exactly. And speaking of moving forward, I think it's time we wrap up this episode. But before we go, Rachel, do you have any final thoughts?
Just that, it's an exciting time to be alive. We're on the brink of something big, and it's up to us to shape the future of AI. And lastly, don't forget to check out Augmented AI University to upgrade your skills and become an AI expert fast. Go to bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast to enroll in your free cutting-edge AI course at augmentedstartups.com. See you next time.
Thanks, Rachel. And thanks to all our listeners for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Turing Test Podcast. Take care, everyone.